we have with us two amazing panel moderators today. Ísabella Másdóttir, who works with me at Festa, an Icelandic sustainability NGO, and Mustafa Kamala, who is by profession an MD, and he is also a youth representative from PreventNCD. And I would like to ask them to join us on stage as well. Now I'm going to exit the stage, but before I would like the next slide with the Slido QR code so that all of you can start putting in your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andri and Ketill. Very impressive.
Yeah, thank you both. Just starting with, for many in our generation, well-being isn't a niche concern. It's a basic expectation. We value work-life balance. We value connecting with the nature, with our surrounding, our community, and the environment. But we often see ourselves to be seen mainly as a productive workforce, measured by our output and less our well-being. But I was happy to see that businesses can actually change that narrative and kind of redesign their model towards a more human and planet-centric business model. So it was very nice to hear both of you.
I totally agree with you. And but I'm curious because this is your first time here in Iceland, right. And well-being is sort of like a norm for us. So what is the one thing that maybe stands out for you when it comes to Icelandic society and well-being?
Yeah, interesting. So it's my first time here, but over the past few days and talking to a lot of people here, I've come to notice that people here in Iceland have a clearer and more holistic understanding of well-being, and it's not just seen as a physical health or an economic necessity, but they value it as more of a balance, nature, trust, and community. And I think it's important to set the bar very high for well-being and both economy, and I think mostly from the youth perspective to be able to set that very high standard. And because I believe when we aim high, we can build systems that are better and that can help both the people and the planet.
Yeah, I mean, we really put those values forward. It's impressive, but I think we cannot take it for granted. I want to use this opportunity to build on a story I heard here yesterday. Dora told us a very tragic story of young people here in Iceland. And now we have new data on young people, or especially young boys, that are now less accepting of some minority groups in Iceland. So this sort of like a trend, apparently it's a trend, is what we're seeing. And you have to ask, like, how did we get here? Like, this is not something you would expect in a well-being society like Iceland. So, I mean, of course they're exposed to harmful influences online and so on, like HADEA was mentioned this morning. But what I'm trying to say is that we cannot take for granted those values that, you know, have built this society of well-being and peace. So it might seem that we are always, you always think you're on the right track, everything is getting better, but then you see like some new data coming in. It's
right.
Yeah.
But now let's go back to our audience, see if they have any questions for our speakers.
Okay. First question.
Oh, we have more than a question.
Okay. Should we start with Ketill?
Sure.
Ketill, so first question is for you. Looking ahead 10 or 20 years, how do you imagine business will operate if well-being and sustainability come core to the strategy?
Absolutely. I think companies need to think about the future, and they need to think about the workplace as the workforce for the future workforce. And so they need to not be thinking only about the people who are working now, but what are the needs of the people that are coming into the market, and how can we attract a new workforce. And so they are already shaping the way companies, and company like mine, are operating and how they are setting up their kind of setup. For example, are we measuring the minutes that you look at the screen? Are we measuring the output of your work? Are we welcoming your preferences, even though they are different and we don't know about them? Am I welcoming the dialogue with someone who has a need? that somehow is not in the manual. How do I create this kind of dialogue with our employees so that we can understand their needs and adapt the organization towards that?
Interesting.
Great. Yes, thank you.
And I would like to, I think there's like many questions about involving well-being and how do you track well-being in business, and would you still implement well-being if it meant having less profit? And I would like to direct it to Andri if you have any thoughts about that.
I think obviously for me the well-being, and maybe what I did not say in my presentation earlier, but you could read between the lines. I think the well-being economy can be a great business opportunity as well. So for me, it's always two-sided. It's both the business opportunity and the role of the organization I work for, and how it does business and can build and support kind of the changes that we need in the well-being economy. But then obviously internally within the organization, kind of it's not just our customers and our stakeholders, well, our outside stakeholders, it's obviously also our own people within the organization. So there, I think first having this purpose and having this angle to the well-being economy is very important for our employees and us on the team, being on this mission or having this project of boosting well-being for our consumers gives again sense of purpose and so on. And then obviously we try to manage our workplace well, like Ketill has touched upon and so on. But I would say the main thing is how can we use the business that we do to drive well-being to all our stakeholders, mainly consumers, but obviously others as well.
Interesting.
Thank you.
Quite many interesting questions, I must say.
It would be a busy afternoon here.
Yes.
I have actually, can I answer two of them?
Yes.
Sure, very briefly.
So it was mentioned that well-being is good for the bottom line of the business. Would you invest in well-being if it meant that the company was less profitable? Great question. First of all, I believe, and I think there's a general understanding, that long-term well-being of the organization coincides with the well-being of the economy. So it could be that you would have a short-term decision. Does it pay tomorrow to do this well-being program or not? In my organization, we are fortunate that we prioritize well-being of people. And there are many, many different examples of that. COVID is an example how we dealt with COVID, focusing first on people and see then how the people appreciated the trust and the careness, and then gave back multiple times on that. That's one example. Every day we make decisions on safety, deciding not to go into a country where there is instability because it's unsafe for our employees. That's bad for business, but it's the right thing to do for our employees. So I would say if you think long-term, then it's easy to make decisions, even though they have a short-term effect on your bottom line, because in the long run, it is better.
Interesting. And I think we are a bit short on time, but if I could just ask very briefly for both of you, if you could, because yesterday we talked a lot about measuring and how do you measure impact. So if you could very in a few words tell me, how do you measure success and well-being in your business?
It's a difficult question. That's, you have multiple ways. We have the surveys, we have the feeling, the opinions, but are they the only and the best way to measure well-being? I don't believe so. I think we also need to think about what science tells us on the correlation between behavior and the environment. We know that physical things and the structure of social teams is important. There are certain things we know, and we can, as a company, act on that. I asked this question actually to my CEO a few days ago when we had the question if the company should abandon its diversity and inclusion policy because of the things happening in the US. He is a US citizen. He was very firm. No, definitely not. Diversity is a very important business thing for us as well. And I said, how do you measure it? When do you know that we are excelling in diversity and inclusion? And his answer was quite good, I think, but it's also tricky. He said, when I walk into an organization, I feel it. I see it. I see people talk. I see people have the discussion. I see openness. So it's a feeling of the culture. I know it's difficult to measure, but at least that's one way to set it up. I'm waiting for the ultimate measurement tool, but we don't have it yet.
We'll get there. Yes. Andri, do you want to add something super quickly to this?
Yes. No, I think, and it's all this data doesn't. It's all, we have a problem even still with the financial data, or it's a challenge. And then we have all the sustainability, environmental KPIs, and so on. And for normal companies, this is, that's tricky enough, even the hard data that we have to compile that and read into that. But I think we don't have to measure everything. And I think it's also about the process of moving forward, like has been touched upon before. If we are focusing on wellness and we're trying to, even if we can't measure it, if we're striving to improve it, I think we are already on the right track.
All right. So I think our time is up. Thank you so much, Ketill and Andri. Elva.
Yeah, thank you so much. Give him a hand.